Hello and welcome to Busy Bee TV. I'm your host Lucas Weakley, and this week, as you may have already guessed, we will be building my Tricopter version 2.5. Now this is going to be a three-part series because I wanted to focus on more aspects and details about the build that I probably wouldn't be able to fit in one episode. So without any further ado, let's start building. Our first stop is the laser cutter, and the first thing to do there is to cut up the acrylic body pieces. Let's go. Then the GoPro mount is cut out of thin plywood. Then the legs are 3D printed so that they are both durable and lightweight. My design even makes them so that they absorb impacts from rough landings. The third leg is printed in yellow for orientation. Now for the tail motor mount. All these parts can be found in the description. First, roughly mark the carbon rod for the length you need. Then cut the rod and sand off the burrs. Now take one side of your landing gear mount and drill it out so it's slightly larger than the carbon rod. Remember, only do this to one side. And then clean off all the burrs. Now hammer in the carbon rod, cut off the excess, and sand the sides smooth. The final product is a hinge. Now let's attach the servo. First, roughen up the servo arm with some sandpaper. Apply some 5-minute epoxy with a toothpick, and glue it onto the movable side of the hinge. Here's a tip: use the same toothpick to center the arm onto the hinge. While you wait for that to dry, cut off one of the servo mounts so the servo can lay flat on its side. Sand off the burrs, and use a piece of double-sided tape as a spacer. Once the glue is dried, drill some pilot holes for some screws for added strength. Then cut off the excess servo arms. Ta-da! Now the tail motor mount is done. Let's move on to assembling the frame. With the laser cut parts, you will also need 3 1/2" by 1/2" by 20" wooden rods. Assembly is very simple. If you're using the acrylic body pieces, make sure not to over-tighten the screws because the acrylic will break. If you're designing your own frame, make sure all the arms are 120 degrees apart when unfolded. Attach the motor mounts with zip ties. Be sure to use pliers to make them really tight. Do the same for all the other motor mounts and the legs. Then attach the motors and zip tie all the wires down in place. Take all your power wires from your ESCs and solder them together to your connector in parallel. Now take the GoPro vibration mount and attach it to the bottom of the frame using double-sided vibration tape. This is where the GoPro sits. I finished tying up all the wires and mounted the controller board with the same double-sided tape as the vibration mount for the GoPro. Now you know why this is a 3-part series. So what happened there was, I was so excited to go out and fly that I forgot to fully tighten down all these prop collets. So the propeller on the left came off mid-flight and did a couple somersaults and then landed on all its legs. Now the 3D printed legs that I designed broke just how I wanted them to, and they took most of the impact. But unfortunately, so did the acrylic. So that broke in a bunch of different places. So now not only am I going to have to reprint the legs, but I'm also going to have to figure out a way to make the body.
Now, part 2 of this video series is going to be uploaded next week instead of in 2 weeks like I normally do. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss it, and I'll see you next time.
Most of the designs featured in this video were based off of RC Explorer's Tricopter version 2.5. There's a link in the description to his article for more details.